All right. So welcome everyone to the UBC Certificate in Organizational Coaching webinar, information webinar. So this is an opportunity for us to go over some of the pieces of our program, as well as answer some questions from you all. So thank you for joining us today. I'm going to start off with a bit of a land acknowledgement. So I feel privileged to be a guest and an uninvited visitor to the unceded territory of the Sumath people. And so that's also known as Sumas, which is in Abbotsford, BC. And it's part of my intention of doing land acknowledgements. I also like to be able to connect myself to the land and think about why it is important. Growing up, I was always fascinated with the First Nation traditions and beliefs and all of those things. And I looked at it with quite a bit of respect. And I was talking about this with somebody recently that I just thought it was quite beautiful and unique the way that we learned about what had happened. Now, in reflection, of course, we don't learn about everything that happened through the years, and I was unaware of a lot of the issues with Indigenous relationships within Canada until later in life. And so as a continued learning for myself and as also an effort towards some reconciliation, I commit every year to do more education and learning different pieces of, the beliefs and the systems of the land that I live on, as well as give back to the community in some way. And for me, I try to offer my services at a pro bono rate. So to volunteer with an Indigenous organization at least once a year, offering them coaching, either team or individual coaching. So that is what I do. I do realize that there's a lot of work to be done, but I like to acknowledge that outside of just acknowledging the land that I am on right now. So thank you all for coming today, as I mentioned. We're going to be going through quite a bit of information, but I also want to make sure that we have some time to interact with you and answer some questions, be able to hear what's most important to you, because different people coming into this program have most likely, done different research, talked to people, and might have different understandings of what is involved in the certificate in organizational coaching out of UBC. So we're going to be doing that in a couple of different ways. In order for us to kind of have a smooth rolling, webinar, I'll go over a couple things logistically. Keep your mics on mute when you're not talking, just for background noise and all of those things. But we will open that up. And at any point, if you do, feel the desire that you need to say something, just put your hand up in the reactions and then we can talk. So it's not so much that you can never come off mute. We'll just ask you, as somebody with ADHD, I will get distracted if I hear background noise. So I appreciate that. We will be using a few different ways to interact with the different elements of the webinar today. And we will be using a website called Flinga, and I'll show you how to use that when we get to that. You can also pop, questions and stuff into chat if they're coming up. Just know we might not get to it right away, but I'm going to be asking Shanif and Guillaume and Jenny to just keep an eye if there's questions coming up. If you can answer them, great. But if not, I'll make space for us to answer them. I just don't read the chat at the same time as presenting. And then you we'll also be doing some annotations. So as you look at this, picture on the screen right now, there are a few different ways. So it's just kind of showing where you can get to chat, turn off and on your camera, mute, unmute, but we'll also be using what's called the annotation bar. So right on the corner of your screen, there'll be a little annotate button. So it's a little green pencil looking thing. We will be using that at different times. I've made sure it's enabled right now, but you can take a look and see if you can see that right there. When you press that, it opens up along the side. So it might be above the top like this way, but it also might be down the side that way. But you can go in and we'll be using the stamp. So that's how we'll be using it today to stamp on different things. So that's just kind of situating you with some of the things that you're doing. If it's not working for you, and if you're on a phone, it's hard to do. I don't know if it's even possible, but you can also pop things in the chat and we can annotate for you and that sort of stuff. It's not a test, I promise. So welcome. So we'll be going over a bit of a overview, as I mentioned, and then we'll be doing some questions and hearing some perspectives from our other folks that are here. As things come up, we might shift a little bit. If we can't answer all the questions, I usually stick around for a few minutes at the end, but also there's other ways that we'll give you to get the answers that you're looking for. A little bit about who's here today. So I'm Kels. So I go by Kelly or Kels Davidson. I'm a PCC level coach and organizational coaching certificate alumni. So I took the program back in, I finished in 2020. And since then, I have been working in different capacities within the program. I came back as an alumni coach, helping and just, reabsorbing some of the information and helping new learners go through it. And then I moved into a module facilitator role. And then I guess about 4 years ago now, I took on the role of cohort leader, and that's where I sit now. This year I came on as an employee of UBC, so moved from a contract role where I was just doing some pieces to I work part-time with the program now. And what I do as a cohort leader is I'm really kind of your guide through the entire program. So I'm somebody who will be hosting all of the live learning events. I'll be hosting community calls on a weekly, basis. And then I'm also managing the team of 25 different program team members who fill in different places within the program. So we have a cohort of 48 that goes through the program each time and 25 team members who are there to support. So lots of moving pieces, but I'm kind of your first point of contact and leading you through the program. I work very closely with Brian Taguchi, who, if you do go back and see other webinars, you'll see him as well. And he's the program leader. We've kind of built the program quite a bit in the last few years. So now we went from having this one main program and one, sometimes two additional like short seminars that we'll do or programs that we'll do. To now we are building out, and I think we have about 6 on our roster now. So he's overlooking the entire, we're starting to call Center of Organizational Coaching, and I'm kind of here for this program. I also do want to welcome that we have a few other folks here, and I did mention them briefly, but I would love to invite each of them to introduce themselves. And what I'll get each of you to let us know in a very quick kind of introduction is your name, what do you do, why did you pursue coach training, and what's that piece, that gold piece that really this program provided for you. So I'm going to start by going to Shanice Karmali.
Thank you, Kels. So my name is Shanice Karmali. I am an ICF accredited ACC coach that trained with UBC, and I'm also certified in EQ, systemic team coaching, as well as vertical development. I wear multiple hats. I'm an entrepreneur and coach practitioner, and I run my own practice, Activate Coaching and Consulting. I co-own a purpose-led cosmetics business, and I'm also part of the UBC program team. In my coaching, I help leadership teams get clear on purpose, roles, ways of working. I facilitate and design systemic team coaching, really centered around adding value or building more values-led teams. Why did I pursue coach training? Most of my career was in corporate, field and corporate roles, and I spent a lot of time really managing and using coach like, never quite understanding the distinction. So I pursued coach training to pair entrepreneurial experience with disciplined practice. I wanted evidence-based methods. I wanted to work with a cohort that met me where I was at, and there wasn't any judgment there. And that's what I found at UBC. The goal for me was really in being able to shift from doing to being, really appreciated the structure of the program and the commitments and the support of the program team in terms of feedback that helped me grow the ethics of the ICF, UBC, all of that, that really helped ground me, and the diverse learning modalities and experiences that were there. So lots of gold that I from there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Shanif. And, Shanif is one of our module facilitators, and so is somebody who would be, if you decide to join us for cohort 20, which starts in January, he'll be working within that team. So, all right, Guillaume, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thanks, Kels. Yeah, hi everyone on my small little screen. My name is Guillaume. I'm thrilled to join you today. I'm an alumni coach for cohort 19. I'm also an organizational coach with an ICF ACC credential that I gained through completing this very course. So my journey into organizational coaching began with a simple little webinar, exactly like this one a couple of years ago. I was kind of searching for a new challenge and a new career direction, whilst having no idea where that would go or how to get there. I'm still not 100% sure where to, but I think I've got my thumb on the how to now. So very excited about that. And that happened after a profound realization that of what coaching is and its transformative impact on both individuals and organizations. And throughout my career, I've witnessed how effective leadership and team dynamics could elevate an organization's success and I became passionate about facilitating that specific growth. I've jumped through many career fields, many industries, and this is the one thing that I found was constant, is my passion to connect with the people working in it. I actually pursued the organizational coaching because I believe in the power of unlocking that potential. I'm absolutely fascinated by our ability to inspire change and foster resilience. It's about cultivating a mindset where leaders and team members can navigate these challenges and embrace lifelong learning, and that drives innovation. Um, I find that one of the most valuable things in life, second probably only to time itself, is insight. And the goal for me is this industry, coaching, it gives that opportunity to create conditions for insight. This program has taught me the importance of two very simple words compressed into an explorative question that gives motion to these insights. What else? I never thought I would detest a question as much as that, but it is a question that I ask myself constantly, even daily, especially when it comes to parenting, a very, very key thing to have. But yeah, I just finished my Master's of Science in Positive Psychology at another institution after completing this course. And I found that my learnings in the Certificate of Coaching has given me such a big advantage over other students, just because this course really prepares you for the real world coaching in a safe and a playful environment. And that is something that we do not really find in our high stakes and high pressure routines and jobs, right? So that's why I'm back. That's why I'm excited to be here. And yeah, excited to speak to you guys, or answer questions. And thanks, Kels. Appreciate the opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you. And now I'm going to introduce Jenny. So Jenny is actually in the program right now in term 2 and very busy. So thank you for joining us today, Jenny. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be presenting to you guys. I was actually in your exact position last year, wondering if I should be taking this program. And I signed up for the cohort 18. So we're 10 months out of the 12 months almost completed. I have a full-time job. I've been in real estate for 23 years. And my role has really adapted to being a real estate facilitator and facilitator and trainer, and a consultant to project marketing developers. So I work with a variety of individual agents and teams in developing really strong business foundations for them and their branding. And the reason why I decided to pursue organizational coaching was because I wanted to deepen my ability to empower others in beyond like the traditional sales and management tools, and really enable some really empowering like transformation and real impact for my clients. And the gold nugget in training is being able to kind of co-create and walk alongside them and just see and using some of the advanced tools that we've been given in the program to be able to support them in their growth and in their conversations. And yeah, I embarrassingly called myself as a coach before, but now that I have adopted a lot of the just even understanding the code of ethics has really made a lot of meaning to what this program does for does for the services that I'm going to be providing to my clients.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm just going to pull this back up because it's always nice to see people's faces when we're talking, but I do have some information to share. So thank you all. And, I think that there's so much that can be learn from this program. Everybody has a bit of a different lens, and where they take that is going to be different for everyone. I have coached, many, many people over the last few years, and now I'm focusing more on the education, but I will always be coaching somewhat. And so there's lots of different experiences that we'll be bringing into the program, and you'll get to work with people through. So I would love to start with some annotation. And so this is the different ways that you can access the program information. So there are a few different things that you might have done before you came in, and it can be helpful for me to understand what have people accessed so far. So I'm going to ask you to annotate. So with that, green little button in the corner, if you go down there and you press on it, you'll get the little bar. And if you go to the little check mark, that's your stamp. And so what I would love for you to do is to be able to kind of let us know what you've explored so far. So there's the Extended Learning website. So that's where you can get all of the information. Within there, there is the program handbook, which I know is quite a lot in there. There is links to previous info webinars you might have taken a look at. Cynthia, who is our program coordinator, and honestly, like, my favorite person on most days because she is so good at what she does and keeping track of all the logistics. But she's somebody who you can reach out to and ask questions. And then there is program team and alumni. So one, you're talking to some of us today, but also you can request a bit more information and we can set you up to talk to somebody if that is something you're interested in. So looking at the annotations, I can see that a lot of people have taken a look at the coaching handbook as well as the Extended Learning website. That's great. And some folks have talked to some people. Great. Great. Some of the things will be repeated, but I'm going to try to, keep it as brief as possible. But it's also important for you to know that you can find everything in those different pieces.
And Kels, I've shared the 3 resources in chat. So if anybody wants to access them, the links are there.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next screen and another annotation is going to be there. So we want to hear from you. What is your reason for pursuing coach training? So we've got 4 different answers on here. So to develop practitioner level coaching competency, growing your professional network and community, enhancing your confidence as a leader and change maker, and then earning credibility as an ICF credentialed coach. You can also go to the text box of the annotation and put something else underneath if you'd like to type something down there. So that will help us know exactly what you're wanting to look at. Great. Career change, we hear that a lot. Second career, side gig, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, great. Some of it I can't see. Hope to improve UBC by taking this. NGO companies, yeah. I think I caught most of that. Great. Great. This is great. And, I think that when we see a cohort going through, we do have a big chunk of people who are looking for career change, either in the near future or eventually. Some people are looking at it to start as a side gig, move into something else. And then we've got other folks who are here and they're really looking at how can they use that to strengthen the career they're in, either a leader of an organization or being a leader within. How can I do better? How can I create internal coaching practices that will help. And we try to really keep both of those in view as you're going through the program, knowing that there's different reasons. It's not just about you will become a coach and start your own business. That's a big part for some people. And then for others, it's how do you become a coach within. So great. All right. So, So what do you need to know to move forward in your decision making? So this is an opportunity for you to pop down any questions as you are going in. Shanife, if you can put the Flinga link into the chat. We've set up a Flinga board, and I'll quickly show you how to use it. So you should see it now. So right now it is blank. But this is an opportunity that you can use to actually put down some questions. So if you look at the top of the screen, if you go up to where the message is, if you put your message in there and you press send, it will put it on a post-it right there. So you can do as many as you want. You can change colors if you want, however you want to do it. When you're in here and you're popping in a question, take a look and see if your question's been asked already, or if there's a question that you really like, you can go in and you can click on it and press the heart, and that just upvotes it. Because I'm going to be looking at these at most liked first to make sure that we're capturing the most important questions. And then if we don't get to them all, we will make sure to give you a way to get the answers to those. But we'll keep an eye on that as we're going through the next pieces. Okay. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And then I will make sure that we give some time for going back to that. So pop your questions in there. So why organizational coaching? So there's a lot of, kind of different kinds of coaches out there. There's different labels that you can use, but we have centered ourselves as an organizational coaching program. Right now, when we think about the world of work and the world of how organizations are running, there is a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of, ups and downs. There's been tons of layoffs over the last few years. And what organizational coaching brings in, it brings in both the personal aspects of coaching, so working with people as people, supporting them, but also looking at an organization system as a whole. And so when I think about organizational coaching and why it's important is I'm working with both the individual and then sometimes with the team, sometimes navigating some of those conversations, but bringing it back to what are they doing that can impact the system they're in, and how can we make that a more positive experience, either for the individual or for the team. There are a ton of opportunities out there in the workplaces, and workplaces are starting to adopt more coaching practices within them. So I know when I started as a coach, even just 5 years ago, when I started talking to external clients, a lot of them didn't know what coaching was. They're like kind of like a life coach or an executive coach, but there wasn't a lot in between. Now we're seeing that there's a lot more pieces that are connected for people. People are accessing coaching more, and they're seeing the positive impact in organizations. Some of the companies I work for are huge, and then I will work for some smaller ones as well and be able to really understand the entire landscape. But people can use more support, and that's really why organizational coaching can be impactful. So when we think about all the different things that have happened over the last few years, we had COVID, that changed workplace dynamics a lot. People working from home, we've got that funny, graphic of somebody working from their bathroom, but things like that do happen. We have, crises across the world, thinking about wars that are happening, thinking about, political landscape in different places. Things are changing constantly, and people are going to bring that to work. Any of these effects are going to happen. When we think about just everything that continues to happen, we got to understand that people are coming in as whole people, and coaching can give them support to both be able to take care of themselves, but also be able to be more effective in their organization. So lots of different, kind of pieces to kind of consider. So why UBC's certificate in organizational coaching? So we are unique in a lot of ways, that we are one of the first organizational coaching programs in North America, for sure. We started in 2013, and so we're 12 years in now, and we've done a lot of evolution. When we first started, it was once a year. There would be a cohort that goes through, and it was a lot smaller. Now we see 2 cohorts of 48 people each go through the program on an annual basis. And we've had to transition to a fully online program. So we are able to work with people all across the world. We have an incredible team of people who have gone through the program, and then some who have gone through different coaching programs. So I would say that probably, 80% of our program team have done the UBC organizational coaching program. And then we've got those other folks who have done coaching programs in other areas and then learned our program. And we've got incredible science and psychology, and, different expertise that have fed into the program to keep it as up to date as possible, as well as, really academically cutting edge, I would say. So it is a 160-hour immersive developmental experience, and we really do take that as this is experiential learning. It is not just you're going to read a book and then do an exam. We are really, learning through conversation, trial and error, experimentation, and with each other. Our cohort experience, I would say, is one of the most unique things I've ever experienced, and one of the most important things that I've ever experienced. I now have, a side business with a lot of cohort members. I'm in touch with different previous alumni and people that I went through the program with on a daily basis outside of the work I do with UBC. We really kind of keep an EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusive lens through all of the work that we do. We try to make this as accessible for everybody who wants to be part of this program. And how we do that is we adjust things as long as you're in relationship with us. So if we can talk, if we come up with new ways, we pivot. When we take feedback at the end of every live learning, we really do take that and we make changes in the moment. And so when I think about my goals, it is making sure that we are creating systems within our group that everybody can learn and feel safe to show up as yourself and, do this important work. It's a lot of inner work. There's a lot of reflection. You're learning about yourself as you're learning about coaching. I remember when I joined the program, somebody told me, it was an alumni coach, and they were like, this is going to change your life. And I was like, we'll see. It has 100%. And I hear that from alumni all the time. And a lot of that is because there's so much self-reflection and relational work you're doing within the community. So some of the, technical pieces are, we are a UBC Senate approved certificate in organizational coaching. So there's that level that is required by UBC, which really does give it a cutting edge when people are looking at where did you do your training? UBC has a lot of rules for us to get to the point where we're able to be a certificate. So they did a lot of work to get there. We are an ICF, so the International Coaching Federation accredited level 2 coach education. So that means you are doing all of the requirements that you need to get up to your PCC level in coaching. You don't have to do any other training or mentoring to get to that level. And for many coaches, that's the level that they go to. There is a third level, which is MCC, Master Certified Coach, but you can do everything, including like being a coach educator, all of those things at PCC level. And so it gets you to that. The only thing you need to do outside of the program is log enough hours to show your experience in coaching. It also meets the team coaching education component, which is 60 hours, to be able to apply for your ICF advanced certification in team coaching. So you would need some additional supervision or mentoring after this program, but you've done all of the education piece to get to that level as well. That's a new certification that the ICF does. And so we're also looking at ways how we can fill in the blanks to get you everything you need for that. But a little bit more to do after that, but it's unique in that way. The program is something that we're really proud of, and it's ever evolving, as well as I had mentioned near the beginning, we've also expanded how many offerings that we have. I've talked about it being a level 2 program. One thing that has just happened actually this week is if you go into the organizational coaching website that I mentioned, you'll see another offering on here, which is something new. So you see all of the offerings that I'm talking about. But we also do have actually an add-on opportunity. So if anybody is a level 1 certified coach, you can now come into our program as long as you've done a level 1 education, or you're at that ACC already. You can come in and do part 2, which then gives you up to that PCC credential and your team coaching piece. So we are also offering that if that's of interest to anyone. All right. Shanice, I'm going to pass it over to you. And we're going to be quick through these. I'm looking at the time. You're on mute. You even warned me you were going to do that.
Exactly. I told you, I'm one of those people. So the image in front of us is of a previous cohort. This was cohort 8. And this was this was the last fully in-person cohort. Since then, like Kels mentioned, we've transitioned to hybrid and now fully virtual, which really means, which is amazing because it can bring more diversity into the program itself. So who comes to the program? It's people from across varied roles, departments, and across different industries and sectors. This includes professionals at different stages in their careers, experts in technology, education, professional services, all levels of government, healthcare, technology, entertainment, and people who hold certifications and roles such as HR, organizational development. We have CEOs, physicians, entrepreneurs, counselors, consultants, advisors. So really different walks, different experiences come to the program. What really makes this work is that community feel. It's that common intersection of commitment to lifelong learning that makes learners successful in and after the program, and that commitment to be in service to others. Coming to this program is a desire to go through the learning experience where the learning experience itself is an intervention in life, and you will notice a different way of being as you're going through this program. And the cohort and the program has no expectations of prior learnings, prior knowledge. You're met where you're at, and it's a journey from there. You will get that community feeling of working alongside learners that are in it the same way that you are, and growing from that experience of growing together and building lasting relationships. For myself, I still hold great relationships and friendships with folks from my own cohort. I have co-coached with my cohort team members. I've gone on for further certification. So it becomes a really lovely community that, if you want, stays with you. Slide.
I'll just add that's my old cohort. And I just took a look at the picture and I'm like, oh, I talked to 3 people this week from that cohort. So yeah.
So we're looking for people who are wanting to go on a journey. Like a lot of things in life, it is not linear. The picture in front of you is from a previous OCP program, and Chris is presenting his final OCP, where success through the program was at first thought of as something linear. And like building a house, you need to first solidify the foundation, and then things may be different than what you expected, and being able to evolve with that. So really, this program offers you that strong foundation on how to build your coaching practice, how to build coach self, use yourself as instrument, working with one-on-one clients, right through groups and teams as well. On that last slide also, it's really important that, yeah, it is not a linear, it's not linear, but it's also important to know that a big differentiator, and I'll talk about it on another slide, in the program is the amount of support that is available to you.
Mm.
So UBC has its own definition of coaching, and ICF, with their updates to the 2025 competencies, does require coaches to be able to articulate what coaching is in terms of their own context. And coaching, for me, is a growing discipline and a communication style that organizations are adopting it. They're adopting in order to positively impact engagement and performance. Organizational coaching is a context for coaching, a mutual learning methodology, and together with our clients, we work systemically with the relational, so to impact the operational. So really, coaching is both contextual and relational. We're building on lived experiences with UBC coaching services and on our reputation as a leader and innovator in this specialized field. Our program team, we heard earlier on Kels say there were 28 members, sometimes there's 32 members, supporting 48 learners, and they hold different roles, from instructors, mentor coaches, practicum leads, module facilitators, and program team. With varied backgrounds, we have academic credentials in psychology, neuroscience, education, organizational development, adult development, and education, and strong, impressive professional lives as faculty members. We have HR consultants, business owners, we have practicing coaches, all part of the faculty and program team. Our mentor coaches have been trained by other coach training programs and continue to invest in their professional development, which really adds to the diversity of the program and program team. Diversity is important to us. We all have different styles and approaches and prefer different tools, and you get to critically analyze and take away what works for you, leave what doesn't, perhaps maybe revisit it later. I downloaded and kept all my tools and resources. And to this day, I still go back in and be like, what was that nugget? Review it, the frameworks, the models, they're still all relevant for me. So yeah, I'm curious actually, Kels and rest of the panel, if you could share, maybe one person, what was the impact of working with a variety of coaches throughout your training, which I believe is a differentiator. It's one of the questions that popped up on Flinga. It is one of the differentiators of the UBC Certificate in Organizational Coaching. So if I could ask one of the panel members, what was the impact of working with a variety of coaches through your training?
I'll jump in there. Yeah, well, I mean, as you can imagine, being exposed to a variety of different backgrounds when being coached, people that have done it for a longer time, people who just like me jumped into it, didn't know what they were doing really, kind of broadened your own sense of what that is and how it works, how it relates and how it connects to everything, right? And I think the most insightful thing that for me got out of that was that, yeah, irrespective of what that background was, like there's a framework that supports you, right? There's a framework that you get taught, that you play in, and that's the key thing, like how to venture in that framework and ask the questions that generate that insight, ask the questions that actually get people to move out of a comfort zone, get people to think outside of a box, get people to innovate, to drive. And that's what I loved about it. It's just that framework was the support, right? And that's irregardless of what your experience is and what your background was. What I did learn from these people is how to become comfortable in that environment, how to be comfortable in the uncomfortable situations, how to ask those questions that you struggle to ask. And I think that was so great to have a safe space to do that. Yeah, that I actually wanted to come back. That's why I wanted to be alumni coach. Is like I found so much value in that for what I saw out there after I completed the course. I'm like, oh yeah, now it it makes a lot more sense after you've actually walked the walk and go into the real world and like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty good. I actually found some solace in what we were doing. So yeah.
Yeah. Jenny, I'd love to bring you, thank you. Jenny, I'd love to bring you into the conversation as well.
Yeah, I see a lot of familiar faces on that panel there. The mentor coaches provided me a lot of invaluable feedback that were ungraded, and it really did sharpen my technique and build a lot of confidence to submit a lot of my assignments. I think just also the variety of background provided me with just a really good array of different approaches that they use in their business practice. And so it really helped me bridge a lot of the theories that we learned in the readings and put them into practice, into like real life scenarios. A lot of encouragement, very safe space for me to really expand and stretch and really grow, and provided me with a lot of constructive like feedback so that I can strengthen some areas where I know that I'm really good at, but also reflect back on a lot of blind spots that I had. So very, very grateful for that, for this program to be able to have access to them.
Thank you, Jenny. One more thing I would add to that, and from my own reflection, is also working with such a diverse program team really challenged me to acknowledge my own biases and to learn how to work with them as a coach.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Janif. Yeah. And I think that as I look at that, group of, just a few of our program team on there, I know some of them are working mostly in EDI. Some is working like there. I noticed one that's working mostly on mental health, one that's working on executive coaching, leadership coaching. There's so much variety in there, and there's no two coaches alike in the way that they do it. If it was just here, ask these questions exactly one way, AI could do it for us, but that's not the case. Every coach is going to be a little bit different, and so will each of you. And so you will learn different things from different coaches, which will help create your identity as a coach. So I want to go through some of the logistics quickly so that we can get to some questions. So what to expect when it comes to delivery and design. All of this is outlined in that guidebook that we showed you. Really, in term one, you should be thinking about putting aside 8 to 12 hours a week. And that is going to be for a variety of activities. There is some things where you're posting online and interacting on like message boards. There are some live meetings, as well as there's the coaching exchanges where you're exchanging coaching with each other and practicing. And so that's all included within that 8 to 12 hours a week. So making sure that you have time for that is really important. And then that expands in term two. In term two, you will be working more because you'll be working on a group project, which Shanif had mentioned, the organizational coaching program, and I had put that in the chat. That's your final program or project, and that is a group project. And so that takes a little bit more time. Is it doable with a full-time job? Absolutely. It's just about making sure that you have systems in place to be able to balance that out. And again, if you already have coach training, you might be going right to term two. For timing, we really look at if you're starting in January, it is until December. So I know Jenny had mentioned that she's in month 12 month 10 out of the 12 months. It is an 8-month program, but really we have a 3-month break if you're starting in January. And so you finish up in the beginning of May and we start up again in the beginning of August. And in that time, you're doing some coaching and stuff, but that is really valuable to a lot of people. Whereas if you start in the September cohort, you are getting a few weeks off over, the holiday break in December, but then we get right back into it. So I think that there's pluses and opportunities on both of them. We are an online program, and so we are doing things on Zoom, and we are doing things both asynchronously and and kind of working through different pieces of the program as you go. We have 3 live learning intensives. And so the first one would be in February. And that is 2 weeks, where it's 2 days per each of those weeks, a Friday, Saturday, and then a Friday, Saturday. And that is, we're online from 9 a.m. to 4:30. And we give breaks in there. We make sure we are handling it that way, but having that time off, it is required hours that you need for your certification. And that is where a lot of the, play and lecturing and kind of going through everything happens. And then you're working through 6 modules. Each of them are 2 weeks, and that's where your module facilitator will be giving you feedback and helping with the conversations. And then you have your coaching practicum. So you are doing both short term, which is like 1 or 2 sessions, and long term, which is, more sessions. And you're doing, as I said, with each other at first. So in term 1, we recommend you coach each other, do exchanges, all of those types of pieces. And then in term 2, we ask you to go out into your network and find external clients. And that can be within your workplace, or it can be with just in your network. A lot of people go to LinkedIn and offer up some either reduced cost or some free coaching in exchange for feedback. And so you'll really want to think about who could you coach to get that practice in. And then you're also doing what we call peer coaching triangles. That is you'll be a trio that support each other through some of the themes through the entire program. And then you have your team that you do the organizational coaching project with at the end. So lots of interaction, and it does really build that community that we talked about being so valuable. In terms of, going through the engagement in the program, you will be working with the entire cohort at sometimes in those live learnings. And then sometimes you will be working just one-on-one. Some people, connect through some of our discussion boards and find a common interest, and they'll, host separate meetings. So there's lots of different ways to connect. But there's, that connection is important. And I think it is what really sets people up for success. So all of the dates are here. Those are also all available on the organizational coaching website. So I'll quickly show you that. And if you go through, so this is just the UBC Extended Learning. If you go through and you go down to the bottom, we've got the organizational coaching handbook. And at the bottom, you have the schedule for each cohort that we have kind of active right now. And so you can get that schedule there as well. But you can see the dates are on here. And by the time you start, you have absolutely every required date that you need so that you can plan well in advance to make sure that you have the space in your schedule for that. If you want, so as we've kind of talked about, this will be cohort 20. We number each of them. It helps us keep track of where we are from and also where we are. Sometimes I forget the month. But, this would be, the next cohort would be cohort 20. And if you want, we can offer perspectives from all different cohorts. So we've got this is cohort 1. This is like way back in the day, the first cohort that went through this program. But we've got people that are willing to talk to you. So if you are looking for some other perspectives, you can first go to the website. You can go see alumni graduate stories, so you can see some of the experiences from them, or you can reach out to Cynthia and request to talk to somebody, and she'll set you up with somebody who's willing to have 15-minute to half-hour conversation with you. And yeah, I think this is just another cohort, some people that are willing to talk to you. So applicant criteria. So we did have a question that popped up around this. So we are looking for people who have an undergraduate degree or equivalent professional experience. So if you don't have an undergrad degree, it is not the end all be all. I didn't as I went through the program. So if you have experience that replaces that, we're totally open to that. 5 years of relevant work experience. And this is important because we are talking about organizational dynamics, workplace dynamics, those types of things. So having some, career experience is important. You will, to be a I always forget to click these things as I'm going through them, the magic slides. I never make magic slides, but Brian did this one for me. So you'll have experience being coached as a client. So one of the requirements we have to enter the program is that you work with an ICF credentialed coach for at least one session, so that you can really understand what it is like to work with somebody who's been trained in the same, aspect that we are training you to. If you don't know where to start with that and you haven't done that, you can reach out to Cynthia, and she has a list of folks that are more than willing to do a coaching session with you. You've also met 3 people here, so you can reach out to any single one of us and we'll either have a referral for you or be able to take you through a coaching session. And then we'll be checking in for, congruence between your expectations and motivations. We want to make sure that not only are you the right person for our community, but we're the right coaching program for you. And so part of the application process is actually checking in and making sure, are we going to meet the expectations that you have? Is this the right coaching program for you? Because sometimes it might be, there's another one that's better out there for you. So, and then we also will be checking for that you are set up for success so that you have evidence of an adequate support network and resources in place so that you can manage taking on an intensive program. Of course, we're not going to be, doing home visits, but we are going to check in with you and make sure that you have the setup that you can be here fully. And, when I think about who is in the cohort, most of our cohort has, I would say, 10 plus years in the, in their career or in a career in the workplace. And we have some people who have been working for 40 years and, have kind of gotten to that really senior leadership. And then we've got like all different kind of ages and demographics and, fields and all of that stuff. So it's important for you to have some of that. But if you're unsure of what kind of that looks like, just talk to us. We'll talk you through it. The cohort matters. So we want to also make sure that you are somebody who is open to working within teams and groups, that it's going to be the right type of experience for you as well. I know I found it incredibly valuable, but for some people, they might want a more traditional format where it's more of tests and stuff. We don't give you any exams. There's like a demo that you have to do. There's audits that you have to do, but it is very experiential and it counts. It depends on us having a good community to work together with. So your application will include a letter of intent. So that's maximum of 500 words. It's really going through like why coaching and why now? Like, why do you want to go into this? What your current coaching experience and understanding is, future professional and personal goals. So that helps us make sure that this is the right thing for you. We'll ask you for a current resume. So putting together a resume will be important. 2 reference letters. So it can be personal or professional references that can speak to whether this would be a good program for you or not, and how you'd be suitable, how this might benefit for you. So we'll ask you to pull those together. Once you've done that, we will have a couple of steps for you to follow to be successful as an applicant. You need to make sure that you've attended or viewed a webinar and gone through the program handbook, because there's a ton of information that's really important in there. You'll connect with, so Cynthia, who's our program advisor, she'll reach out to you and give you anything that you might need that might be missing, all of those things. And you can ask her any questions. So sometimes there's questions about like connecting. I know somebody had asked in the chat If there's an organization sponsoring you, you might need to figure out how to get payments across. All of those things Cynthia will help you with. And then you will be notified once your application is complete. You'll be notified your next steps. And if everything is there, you will then have a 25-minute-ish call with me. So you'll get a link for my calendar and we'll set up time to talk together and just talk about, is this the right program for you? And I'll be able to answer any questions there as well. And then after that, after you've completed your interview and we've kind of take a look and determined that everything is met, you will then get your acceptance and you will be able to put in your information to set up an account, your deposit, all of those things. We're pretty quick at getting to you. So it does happen pretty quickly if you are ready to go. As I said, right now we are going to, we're still recruiting for the January cohort. And so if you're ready to apply now, we'll probably talk within the next week or two. So I've got quite a bit of open space to be able to get that going so you would know fairly quickly if you're accepted. So yeah, once that's all done, that's what we do. So some quick tips for success in the program. Logistically, it's making sure that you have your system set up to be able to support you through the program. Having systems in place like calendars, all of those things are important. Having a computer that is reliable, that can be important. That you have self-care in place because, as I said, it's an intensive program. And I think that some of that is just the inner work that you do. And then you identify who you could possibly work with in term 2. Learning, have a little bit of a lifelong learning mentality. Allow yourself to fail forward. It's important because you're coming back in as the learner. And I know for myself, I had to relearn a lot in order to be successful. Have a commitment to this process and accountability to yourself and to your cohort because you're going to be working together. Be okay with feedback. All of those things are really important. Yeah. So I want to get to any of the questions that we didn't answer. The last thing on here is employer benefits. I know somebody had asked that, like what is in them or like what's in it for the organizational. We've had people have their organization put in folks and put in sponsored people to go through the program. I know my organization at the time did pay for part of my program. And what it can really bring in is bringing in more coaching systems into the workplace, being able to bring some of those skills. And most of the organizations that we have seen go through that have had great experiences. There's also the opportunity to have a group come in and coach a team within an organization as part of the practicum in term 2. So that's a great way to get some free coaching. But if you go to the handbook on page 5, there is more of that. So we can definitely help you out with that. Okay. I know we're at time. It's like every time I go on this, there's so many, slides and I want to answer everything, but I did want to bring it to some of the questions. So Shanice, are you able to ask me some of the questions from the Flinga that maybe haven't been answered yet? And then if you do have to leave, that is totally understandable because we are at time, but at the same time, I'm going to stick around and answer some of the questions that you can either get on the recording or you can stick around to talk through us.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if you have to leave, please do. I'll keep this on the recording so you can always follow up or reach out to me directly.
Yeah, I'll batch the questions in terms of popularity. So the first one, there's questions around time commitment with respects to all-day training and also time commitment for the program itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of bringing it back to the schedule. So if you go onto the schedule, I'll show you, and then I'll explain exactly what it looks like. And so right here, I'm back on that website. And if I go to the program schedule for January 2026, which is currently what we're recruiting for, it has all of the days on here. So when we think about the live training, anything that is going to be like live is in this peachy color. So we have 4 days in total in February that is required full day trainings. So those go the 13th, 14th, 20th, and 21st. So it's a Friday, Saturday. So if you work a traditional, Monday to Friday, you would have to make sure you have those days off because we are going from 9 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. We always do an hour break around the halfway point of the day. So if you're in Pacific time around noonish, there's a little bit of flexibility in there because sometimes we run a little bit behind and we might start at like 12:08. And then we always do at least 2 breaks as well. So we put breaks in there and I don't go over 4:30. That is like hard, fast rule for me. So you will be out in the time we say that you are. And then in term 2, we have 3 days in September, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then at the very end of the program, we have a 3-day training again, which is December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So those are the full days, and those are the only full days. Additionally, every 2 weeks, you have a 90-minute webinar that's required. And that is, we give a couple of times that you can participate in that. One is midday, and one is at 4 p.m. And it's 90 minutes. It's just to discuss the module that you're working on with a module facilitator and other of your module group. So those are what are there. Timing, we say 10 to 12 hours a week in the first term. And then it might be closer to 15 to 20 in term 2, but there's ebbs and flows. I found the biggest thing I did to, set myself up for success is I put aside a couple of times a week where I dedicated to the work that I was doing there. And I would set up coaching time during those calls. And yeah, it was usually, for me, it was like one evening and then Saturday up until noon. And then I had some other things in there. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Kels. And this leads to the next question. And if we get the panel in this as well, is if alumni can speak to balancing this program with working full time. I'll share that when I started the program, that was a big consideration for me because I worked in a role that required me to travel between 50 and 75% of my schedule. I'm also somebody that is very kinesthetic and visual in my learning. So doing is where things really fit. And I found that using my calendar and being purposeful and intentional with not trying to batch everything onto one day, but like Kel said, is look at your calendar and see where do you have pockets that you can intentionally say, 2 hours, I'm going to be focusing on reading. It takes me forever to read. I started using Speechify, which helped me read better. So there's different ways you can use technology as well. And then on weekends, it was more about hosting the assignments and things like that. What about you, Jenny, Willem? What's
Yeah,
your experience currently as you're in it?
I currently have a very flexible schedule because I'm self-employed. So I've been able to manage my go on live sessions without having to watch the recordings too often. When it comes to the readings, I'm the same way. Like you certainly have to time block and allocate, yeah, minimum like 8 hours to your reading. A lot of the reflective questions are just pouring down like what you learned from it, why you're going to grow, and some of the things that you're having challenges with. A lot of my sessions with my PCT and my OCP members, we are meeting in the evenings because some of the members do have full-time jobs and they can't get away from taking time off. So even tonight, I have a dry run in preparation for our coaching session for our client, and we're meeting at 8 o'clock at night after they put down their kids. So that's the reality of it, is that you're going to be having to juggle your schedule.
Yeah, I think if I can join, which Jenny just said, is I think the most people in the cohorts, most people in the program do a full-time job. So you're not going to be the only one doing this. And I think it takes a lot of, it's a self-discipline thing, right? Like what do you commit to and what your priorities are in that day. I did it with a full-time job, with a family, small kids. So most of my interactions with my cohorts, with my PCT, with coaching was after hours, after everybody went to bed, or I booked off certain slots during the morning for me to do coaching. That being said, I did it. Everybody that's gone through it has done it. And it's a a personal balancing act. Like it's a self-discipline thing. Like what do you prioritize and where do you see it? But it is totally doable. It's not an amount. It doesn't look too much. It doesn't feel too much. And actually, when you're in that space, when you are doing it, when you're doing your PCT, when you're engaging, it's if this is what you want to do, like it's liberating. It's insightful and it's wonderful. So it was a fantastic experience, and I'll do it anytime again.
Great.
We have questions around what differentiates this program from any other program.
I think that, I mean, there's so many different programs out there. I talked about a few of them, you know, being attached to UBC. It definitely has a level of rigor and, you know, expectation, which I think is incredible. I think that any ICF credentialed program has to go through quite a rigorous process to get that credential. So being able to be aligned with ICF, that is definitely that something is across the board. But we had to do also the UBC piece. I think that the other thing is that the piece that is involving individual and group coaching. I also noticed when I quickly looked at the Flinga that somebody had asked, like, does this also do individual coaching? Absolutely. That is the groundwork of everything that you're going to do. You start with learning to individually coach somebody on what they're working on. And then after you kind of master that, you go into how do you now look at entire organizations or teams. And so I think that is something that is unique within our program. And when you look at the different types of program out there, if you're in a level 1 program doing training, the expectation of your individual coaching is going to be different than a level 2 training, because the expectations on an ACC level coach are very different to a PCC level coach, and we're training you to be a PCC level coach. So it really does set you up well in the industry to be able to do that work. So, yeah.
And if I can share, like, I was considering different prestigious institutions, UBC being one of them. And in my conversation with Kels, really coached my questions, was that understanding of what is different between UBC and other programs is it offers a team coaching aspect as well. And I worked within teams. And for me, I wanted to learn more about individual coaching, but I didn't think, and in practice, that's not where I sit. I didn't think long-term individual coaching was for me. And this was the program that allowed that. After completing the program, like when you look at the number of hours you will accumulate, those are the minimum based on hitting all the requirements to graduate from the program. But that doesn't mean that you can't do more. And I did take that time to practice both in teams, individual groups, and I was able to gain much more, closer to the 100 hours in order for me to write my ACC, which I did. And other programs that I was looking at did not offer the same. Also, I'm getting ready to write my ACTC, Advanced Certificate in Team Coaching. UBC set me up for that from the theory. I have to work with 5 teams, and then I can write the exam. And one of the teams came from working with UBC.
Great. Thank you.
We have question around, do I need level 1 before embarking on this one? And more around, including that question, there is questions around, do I need to be part of ICF? Do I need to have coaching experience? So Kels, if you could talk about the level 1 and experience with ICF and coaching.
Yeah, you do not need any coach training to enter this program. So you don't need a level 1 to be part of this program. That is something that if you wanted to just do the part 2. So if you had a level 1, you can just come in for the second term. But if you have no coach training, that is totally fine. And that kind of, builds into what does your experience with coaching have to be? You don't have to be part of the ICF. You don't have to be in active coaching. You have to have been experienced coaching at least once. Because I think a lot of the time in the world, people use the term coaching a lot. And so I sometimes talk about it like there's little C coaching, which is, the kind of coaching we do as leaders, that is not quite the same as what an ICF credentialed coach does in session. And so we do require that you have been coached once. You don't have to currently be doing it. You don't have to be trained in doing it. You just need to be the client once so that you understand exactly what you'll be trained to do. For some people, they're actually looking for more of like consultant training. And that's not what we're doing. It's a very different role than it is to be a coach. That doesn't mean that some consultants don't use the skill of coaching and some coaches use the skill of consulting, but that's not what we're training on. So, yeah.
If someone has education from, say, the UK or another program, how can they find out if they could be accepted to join the level 2 add-on?
Yeah, just reach out to Cynthia. And if we look at it, because the International Coaching Federation is across the world, you were also starting to connect with the EMCC, which is a European governing board. And so it could be, but we would just have to take a look at your specifics. So if you just reach out to Cynthia and explain what programs you've done, one of us will talk to you and see how that aligns up to jump into the level 2.
Okay. Curious why there is an admission requirement that you must be coached by an ICF coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I just touched on that, but it is to make sure that you understand exactly what you're signing up for. It's the same thing. If you were going to become a counselor, you would never do that with never being counseled.
So around the business of coaching, will we be provided with some learning support for marketing our services? What can we expect once we finish the program in terms of what we can charge, and around successes of people that have gone through the coach program, all in terms of the doing of coaching?
Yeah. So if you're looking to be a coach and start your own business, there are a few things that we touch on, but that would be probably like building your business could be an entire program on its own. And so we don't go too deeply in it as part of our curriculum. We have a panel at the end, which we talk to some different coaches who have started their own business. And I would say that a lot, if not most, of our program team are also actively coaches in their business, which allows them to be program team because they have a bit more flexibility than some folks. But we have lots of support throughout there just in that community building. It depends on the person. Like it really does depend on the person when it comes to who and like how do you become successful as a coach, because starting your own business, getting clients, all the things, it's a hustle. It's not easy. And for some people it's easier than others. So it really depends on your motivation and what kind of path you want to take will determine your success within that. I think that if I think about like income and all of those pieces, the ICF provides a lot of information. You can actually look into annual, surveys that they do to all of their coaches. Really, an ACC level coach, from what I saw the last time, they usually earn around $150 an hour. But that is not always the case. There's different things. Some people coach through platforms. That's what I've done. I don't have to go out and find, clients. They come to me. And then as you move up PCC is going to usually $300 to $500 an hour and upwards, but it really depends. Depends on you, depends on your business structure, all of those pieces. What we do offer is, as I said, like in that last live learning intensive, we have a couple of panels where we're talking to different, folks who have started their own business. And then we also have alumni events. So once you graduate from the program, you're part of our alumni community, and quarterly we have events that happen, as well as, there's been different groups that have formed about building their business. So that is not what the course is here to offer. It's here to kind of get you to that ICF PCC level. But we do offer some doors that you can open and start your exploration in that.
And finally, around logistics, how full is cohort 20? If we've already applied for cohort 20, when's the acceptance or decline happen? And what is the deadline for applying?
Mm-hmm. So we have right now we're about half full for cohort 20. So from the last time I looked, I think we have about 23 spots left that are available. I do have some meetings already set up. The deadline to apply is the 19th of this month. And so we had extended that a little bit. And so yes, if you haven't heard back and you did put something in, one, check your junk mail. I know somebody mentioned to me in the chat, they're like, oh, I didn't even realize I missed it. So check your junk mail if anybody else is in that point. But also you can just reach out to Cynthia. So that's just the UBC Extended Learning, web email address that's on the website, and she can check into you. We will be in contact with everybody who we get an application with. Sometimes it might have just gotten lost or something goes to junk mail. So please do follow up if you're unsure of what happened to your application. We can look into that for you. Okay.
Anything that I missed from anybody that's still here?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Rhonda, like that's great. So you've already done some, some coaching, and so it'd be great to see you.
Yeah.
See what else we can do. Feel free if anybody has any other questions to come off mute as well. Okay.
Hi, just a very logistic question. I'm working on my letter of intent and I'm like at 540 words. Is that like, do you guys have a leeway in how many words it could be?
Yeah, just don't
500 are dead.
Yeah, just don't go
Okay.
crazy because I'm the one who has to read
it. Okay, all right.
Yeah, but that's fine. Yeah.
Brevity is not my strong suit, Zara, so that resonates with me. Usually I was like, am I going to get docked marks?
Exactly. And I'm like, I don't
don't
want
write
to
a
go
thousand.
in.
Don't write 1,000 words is what I
No,
would
I'm at
say. Or don't write
540.
600.
And I just want to submit my application as soon as possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, everyone. And, who's saying in the chat, you feel free to ask any more questions. I'm going to stop the recording if there's anything you want to ask off the recording. But if you have to leave, it was a pleasure meeting everyone.